My fellow citizens, I want to talk to you about our economy. It is important that you understand the reasons for the policy measures I've taken to combat the serious economic challenges this nation had long faced. I'm not going to talk in difficult terms by dwelling on economic jargon and concepts. I will speak in plain, clear language so that you know where I stand. More importantly, so that you see and hopefully will share my vision regarding the journey to a better, more productive economy for our beloved country. For several years, I have consistently maintained the position that the fuel subsidy had to go. This once beneficial measure had outlived its usefulness. The subsidy cost us trillions of naira yearly, such as a vast sum of money would have been better spent on public transportation, health care, school, housing, and even national security. Instead, it was being funneled into the deep pocket and lavish bank account of a selected group of individuals. This group had amassed so much wealth and power that they became a serious threat to the fairness of our economy and the integrity of our democratic governance. To be blunt, Nigeria could never become the society it was intended to be as long as such small, powerful, yet unelected groups hold enormous influence over our political economy and the institutions that govern it. The whims of the few should never hold dominant sway over the hopes and aspirations of the many. If we are to be a democracy, the people and not the power of money must be sovereign. The preceding administration saw this looming danger as well. Indeed, it made no provision in the 2023 appropriation for subsidy after June this year. Removal of this once helpful device that had transformed into a millstone around the country's neck had become inevitable. Also, the multiple exchange rate, the system that had been established became nothing but a highway of currency speculation. It diverted money that should have been used to create jobs, build factories, and businesses for millions of people. Our national wealth was doled out on favorable terms to a handful of people who had been made filthy rich simply by moving money from one hand to another. This too was extremely unfair and is not acceptable. It's also compounded the threat that the illicit and mass accumulation of money posed to the future of our democratic system and its economy. I had promised to reform the economy for the long-term good by fighting major imbalances that has plagued our economy, ending the subsidy and the preferential exchange rate system were key to this fight. This fight is to define the fate and future of our nation. Much is imbalance. Thus, the effect in our economy immensely profited a tiny elite, the elite of the elite, you might call them. As we move to fight the flaws in the economy, the people who grow rich from them predictably will fight back through every means necessary. But we are ready. Our economy is going through a tough patch, and you are being hurt by it, I know. The cost of fuel has gone up. Food and other prices have followed it. Households and businesses are struggling. Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were, I would have taken that route, as I came here to help, not to hurt the people and the nation that I love so dearly. What I can offer in the immediate is to reduce the burden of current economic situation, which has imposed on all of us, most especially on businesses, the working class, and most vulnerable among us. Already, the federal government is working closely with states and local governments to implement interventions that will cushion the pains of our people across socio-economic brackets. Earlier this month, I signed 4 executive orders in keeping with my electoral promise to address unfriendly fiscal policies and multiple taxes that are stifling the business environment. These executive orders on suspension and deferred commencement of some taxes will provide the necessary buffers and headroom to businesses in manufacturing sector to continue to thrive and expand. To strengthen the manufacturing sector, increase its capacity to expand and create good paying jobs, we are going to spend $75 billion between July 2023 and March 2024. Our objective is to fund minimum of 75 enterprises with great potential to kickstart a sustainable economic growth, accelerated structural transformation, and improved productivity. Each of these 75 manufacturing enterprises will be able to access 1 billion credit at maximum of 9% per annum, with maximum of 60 months repayment for long-term loans and 12 months for working capital. Our administration recognizes the importance of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and the informal sector as the drivers of growth. We are going to energize this important sector with $125 billion. Out of the sum, we will spend $50 billion conditional grant to 1 million nano businesses between now and March 24. Our target is to give a minimum of 50,000 each to 1,300 nano businesses owners in each of the 774 local governments across the country. Ultimately, this program will further drive financial inclusion by onboarding beneficiaries into the formal banking system. In like manner, we will fund 100,000 MSMEs and startups with $75 billion. Under this scheme, each enterprise promoter will be able to get between 500,000 and 1 million at the maximum 9% interest per annum and repayment period of 36 months. To further ensure that food prices and the items remain affordable, we have had a multi-stakeholder engagement with various farmers and associations and the operators within the agricultural value chain. In short and in immediate terms, we will ensure stable food are available and affordable. To this end, I have ordered release of 200,000 metric tons of grains from strategic reserves to households across the 36 states and FCT. To moderate prices, we are also providing 225,000 metric tons of fertilizer, seeding, and other inputs to farmers who are committed to our food security agenda. Our plan to support cultivation of 500,000 hectares of farmland and all year-round farming practice remain on course. To be specific, 200 billion out of the 500 billion approved by the National Assembly will be disbursed as follows. Our administration will invest 50 billion each to cultivate 150,000 hectares of rice and maize. 50 billion each will also be earmarked to cultivate 100,000 hectares of wheat and cassava. This expansive agricultural program will be implemented targeting small farm holders and leveraging large-scale private sector players in the agri-business with strong performance record. In this regard, the expertise of developed financial institutions, commercial banks, and microfinance banks will be tapped to develop a viable and appropriate transaction structure for all stakeholders. Fellow Nigerians, I made a solemn pledge to work for you, how to improve your welfare and living condition. It's of paramount importance to me, and it is the only thing that keeps me up day and night. It is in the light of this that I approved the infrastructure support for the states. This new infrastructure fund will enable states to intervene, to invest and reinvest in critical areas and bring relief to many of the pain points, as well as revamp our decaying healthcare and educational infrastructure. The fund will also bring improvement to rural access routes to ease evacuation of farm produce to markets. With the fund, our state will become more competitive and on a stronger financial footing to deliver economic prosperity to Nigerians. Part of our program is to roll out buses across state and local government for mass transit at a much more affordable rate. We have made provision to invest 100 billion between now and March 2024 to acquire minimum of 3,000 units of 20-seater CNG fuel buses. These buses will be shared to major transportation companies in the state using the intensity of travel per capita. Participating transport companies will be able to access credit under the facility at a maximum per annum 9% interest rate with 60 months repayment period. And then, in the same vein, we are also working in a collaboration with the labor unions to introduce a new national minimum wage for workers. I want to tell you, our workers, that this, your salary review is coming. Once we agree on the minimum wage and general upward review, we will make budget provision for it for immediate implementation. I want to use this opportunity to salute many private employers in the organized private sector who have already implemented general salary review for employees. Fellow Nigerians, this period may be hard on us, and there is no doubt that it's tough on us. But I urge you all to look beyond the present temporary pains and aim at the larger picture. All our good and helpful plans are in the works. More importantly, I know that they will work. Sadly, there was an unavoidable lag between subsidy removal and these plans coming fully online. However, we are swiftly closing the time gap. I plead with you, please have faith in our ability to deliver and in our concern for your well-being. We will get out of this turbulence, and due to the measures we have taken, Nigeria will be better equipped and able to take advantage of the future that awaits her. And in a little over 2 months, we have saved over 1 trillion naira that will have been squandered on the unproductive fuel subsidy, which only benefited smugglers and fraudsters. That money will now be used more directly and more beneficially for you and your families. For example, we shall fulfill our promise to make education more affordable to all and provide loans to higher education students who may need them. No Nigerian student will have to abandon higher education because of lack of money. Our commitment is to promote the greatest good for the greatest number of our people. On principle, we shall never falter. We are also monitoring the effect of exchange rate and inflation on gasoline prices. If and when necessary, we will intervene. I assure you, my fellow countrymen and women, that we are exiting the darkness to enter a new and glorious dawn. Now, I must get back to work in order to make this vision come true. Thank you all for listening, and may God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria.
20 minutes of the nationwide broadcast by President Bola Tinubu, appealing to Nigerians to persevere, to wait a little longer. He understands, those are some of his words. I know your pain. I understand what you're going through. Those are some of the words of President Bola Tinubu tonight. He's touched on a lot of issues. He said, I will not speak with you tonight in verbose and economic jargons. I will speak with you in plain language. President has spoken also about the issue of fuel subsidy and its impact on the nation. This is perhaps an emergency nationwide broadcast by President Bola Tinubu. Welcome to the program, everyone. And we shall be dissecting what the president said, the ministerial nominees, and some of the major issues in the land as of now. The president has spoken to the nation in a 20-minute televised address, and which he has touched on the economic woes of the country, what he has done to able to get the private sector working. He's talked about infrastructural loans and support funds for the state. He's spoken about 75 billion naira from between June 2023 and March 2024. For 75 businesses to kickstart their businesses. He's also spoken about 1 billion naira credit of a 9% interest rate, 16 months for long-time loan, 12 months for those who are going to take immediate capital. 125 billion, 50 for about 50 new businesses between now and March 2025. He's spoken about 200,000 grains, fertilizers, 50 billion naira to 50 billion naira to cultivate 150,000 hectares of rice and maize, and so much more that the president has spoken. He said, subsidy has been a major problem, has gone into the pockets of a few individuals in the country. So we get to talk about what the president said, some of the issues that he has raised, and some of the solutions that he's bringing onto the table tonight. I have two eminent Nigerians that will be looking at some of these issues for us. I have a former Minister of Agriculture, Chief Audu Ogbe, who was also a former PDP National Chairman. And I have here with me in our studio, Professor Jide Foadibe, is a Professor of Political Science at the Nasarawa State University. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much, Prof, for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Maureen.
What is your own view of President Bola Tinubu's speech to the nation?
Well, I believe this is it's been his very first broadcast since becoming the president. state broadcast. In terms of delivery, I think he did very well. I mean, relative to what's happening during the campaign season. And he spoke directly. He sat up. The body language was quite okay, and very interesting. He tried to talk about the elites of the elites, and we. In other words, he putting himself among us, and say he's ready. He's very ready to confront those elites that he believe are milking the society, and he didn't count himself among those elites, and that's very interesting. And then he focused only on economy. I was expecting the first broadcast to be more about nation building, more about reconciliation, more about setting the tone, for reconciliation, if not going into properly the agenda of reconciliation. Because it is my considered view that these are very, very good, remarkable policy pronouncements. But unless you have a nation, people who are willing to work together, every solution you throw at a problem becomes part of the problem.
So, I'm imagining that the major problem of the country right now, which is immediate, is an economic problem. And this is an unusual nationwide a national address by the president.
Yes, I agree with you. But when people are harboring a lot of grievances, you still need a nation. I think he should have prefaced it with at least some statements on the need for reconciliation, need for nation building. But he did allude to things like a nation I love so much. He said a few things that are emotionally appealing. That it is this that makes me wake up and work for you and all those kind of a thing. But in focusing excessively on economy, well, it's okay. But when for example, he said he was able to save 1 trillion in 2 months. What we also did not know is how much business is lost as a result of the removal of the subsidy the way it was done. Because obviously every policy has a cost, and it's not just what you saved. And most of these things he mentioned cultivating 150,000 at hectares. Making sure that you nurture 75 manufacturing enterprises, each of which will get 1 billion at a 9% interest rate, repayable between 12 months and 16 months. One, you ask yourself, within that repayment period, for example, you want to nurture a business. What kind of business will you start, and within 1 year you're able to repay 1 billion or 16 months? So some of those are some of the details that need to be, question. Or, for example, the student loan, when he was talking about the student loan, he signed the student loan scheme, but it is not implementable, as you and I know. Because if you interrogate that scheme, you'll find out, for example, it is meant for a household that is earning not more than 500,000 naira, which means a household of a husband and a wife, you need not be making more than 46,000 a month. And if you are actually making that between a couple, it means also that you are not eligible to pay tax. And being able to bring a tax certificate is one of the requirements before you can access it. So it's still, robust thinking still needs to go into the loan scheme for it to work.
There's a lot to distill from what the president has said today. There's a lot of evaporation that will come out of it, out of the steam that a lot of Nigerians are feeling based on the effect of the removal of subsidy, which is the most fundamental of his speech on the 29th of May.
It's good that
just imagine that in the last 3 months or thereabout, how far that has gone into the very fabric of our nation, and how much of disruption that has also caused in our nation. But
it's good that he really made the broadcast, and I think it's quite good.
It looks like someone who is listening, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't go that far to say whether he's listening or not, but the fact that, compared to the last president, if he's able to institutionalize maybe a weekly, bi-weekly, statements on the state of the nation to people, people will not. He caught this image of being media shy during the campaigns, so at least he will be able to do something about that image.
All right, Prof, stay with me. Let me bring in Chief Audu Ogbe. who is a former Minister of Agriculture and a former National Chairman of the PDP. He joins us live from his residence in Abuja. It's good to see you, Chief Ogbe. Thanks so much for joining us on a day as this, where we've seen the president give a nationwide address in an unusual manner. It's the 31st day of July. Many would never think that the president would speak on a day as this, at a time as this. It's also another day when the ministers are being screened. And also, I know you and some of your colleagues are already speaking about presidential appointments. And also, a lot of things are happening in the land. Let me get your view. You've been very close to several presidents. You've been on the ground. You've been around for a while. Give us an understanding of what you make of President Bola Tinubu's nationwide address that he gave in about 20 minutes ago.
Shaun, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. And let me say to you that I am quite excited by the broadcast. My view has always been that democracy is not worth that piece of paper on which it is written on if it is not promoting a viable and reliable economy. And now that the president has very, very seriously started dealing with this problem of economic growth, which has been very, very, very static here for a long time, the president is dealing with a problem which, in fact, affects political cohesion. So there was no need for him to preach on harmony and happiness in society. The big issue is the stomach. People are hungry. Young men and women have no hope and no future. Many of them are hopping out. Others are going into crime. So now the president is beginning to deal with the real problem: economic development, production at home, self-sufficiency in food, manufacturing. We have no excuse for the hunger and the anger in society. The big key thing is what the president has just said. Payable funds to develop the economy, activities to create business, especially in the rural areas. These are the key things which have been holding Nigeria down. And I am absolutely excited. The thing now is for him to put in the team that can make this thing happen.
So, I mean,
too many young people are on the streets miserable. Yes.
So I was going to take up on that. So the address on one hand, the message in the address is another thing. The timeliness or the timing of the address is another factor. But another angle to looking at this is that for the president to speak, when a lot of groaning is going on in the country, what kind of effect in terms of communication, which Professor Adibe has touched on, what kind of effect do you think this communication would bring to the Nigerian people? Those words and those speech in some other climes affect the market in terms of the economy market. You see the market rise and fall based on the speeches of leaders. How effective do you think this kind of speech will be? All right, I think that there is a problem. There is a lag in the Chief Ogbe hearing me, but let's take a breather, everyone. When we come back, Chief Audu Ogbe, Professor Jide Ofoadibe, they are with me. So much to talk about. Ministerial nominee screening and also the president's speech. How does it reflect on you? You can also tweet at me. I want to hear and see some of your feelings about the president's speech. How does it come to you? What are your responses? Does it touch you? Does it affect you in any way? Let's know what you think. Tweet at me on my Twitter handle, and we'll be able to get some of your feels on the program tonight. My guests are still with me. We'll be right back after this break, everyone.
I keep drawing him. I think I'm desperate.
Is this dress even fine?
What if he doesn't like me?
He's here.
Let me speak. Joe. Same Joe.
Same Joe, minor differences. Same Joe, minor differences? Don't even think about judging Joe because you're probably just like him. Why is the name on your business bank account Ahmed Aminu and not your business name? Same business, different name, right? Stop impersonating your business and get an account in your business name with MoneyPoint.
Whatever it takes to make sure you have a business account opened in your business name, we'll do it as your sure banker.
See trouble. Is this not the same name?
Open a bank account in your business name with MoneyPoint.
The Duchess International Hospital opened its doors in October 2021. The mission of the hospital is to reverse medical tourism. We take particular care here at the Duchess to bring together a combination of the brightest and the best locally, as well as Nigerians in the diaspora who are interested in returning to do very good work for the benefit of our patients here in this country.
The good thing is that we have all international expertise here, all international facilities here, international people working here. Everything is coming together in a space which was considered not great in terms of the availability of healthcare.
Axis Bank, of course, has been able to provide us with a robust range of products and services that has enabled us to deliver that standard and quality of healthcare that is integral to our mission as an organization.
In today's world, our lifestyle, both at work and at play, depends on connectivity. Our connectivity depends on the devices that make it possible, and these devices depend on electric power. When power fails, our life shrinks, our work drops, and our joy dips. JRB Solar Energy Systems are here to ensure that we enjoy uninterruptible power, uninterruptible joy. Whether you're running a business, an institution, or just a home you return daily to rest, JRB has got you covered. No project is too big for our super digital inverters, long-lasting batteries, and efficient solar panels. Go, dream on, change your world. JRB Solar Inverters, batteries, solar panels, solar streetlights, and more. Telephone 0906 752 1111. Email sales@jrbsolar.com. With JRB, the sun's gonna shine on everything you do.
Hello, this is Premium Pension. How can we help?
Our experts work behind the scenes, enabling our members grow wealth to secure a premium tomorrow. We see your hard work and we make your money work hard for you. We are growing with you in commitment and service. Leveraging technology to meet your demands. Secure your future and pave way for the next generation. Embracing diversity with firm roots across the 36 states of Nigeria and the FCT. Premium Pension. Active today, premium tomorrow.
Oga, that madam dey outside, she don't come.
Daily activities comes with different challenges. In a bid to accomplish your daily task, malaria has a way of getting you into distress. P-Alaxin anti-malaria keeps you capable and ensures you deliver against all odds.
Madam!
I feel your face don't calm down. You like say malaria no work.
Malaria don't run. Turn to P-Alaxin anti-malaria medicine.
I tell you. Madam, thank you.
P-Alaxin, marketed by Greenlight Pharmaceuticals Limited. P-Alaxin defeats malaria.
you so much, everyone. It's a day President Bola Tinubu addressed the nation, speaking on the hardship and the groaning over the fuel subsidy removal effect on Nigerians, on the pockets and the prices of commodities, and how Nigerians are feeling. He says, I can understand, I hear you, and these are some of the words that the president has used to describe how he emotionally feels about the situation and the state of the nation. Tonight, I've been speaking with Professor Jide Ofo-Adibe, a professor of political science at the National State University here in Nigeria, and of course, Chief Audu Ogbe, a former Minister of Agriculture and a former PDP national chairman. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's good to speak with you and see you tonight. Chief, let's get back to the conversation. What I was asking before the break was that, at this kind of situation that the Nigerian people are facing, the hardship in the economy and all other view, very unusual that we see a president speaking on the 31st of July. And I'm asking that when we see leaders in other parts of the world, they speak, there is also usually the effect on, in fact, on the stock market. You find out that there is a change around the market. How effective do you think this kind of communication could be on the nation, this kind of speech that the president gave today?
Shaun, I think this can be called the great leap forward. It's a very exciting speech. And I know somebody else said earlier that he didn't talk about the sentiments and anger and so on in society. The truth is that the big cause of all that distress is in a non-functional economy. We have too many of our children and grandchildren living in distress, too many families living in pain, and too little production in a country gifted by God with everything. Get the jobs back in place. Give food to families at an affordable rate. And you'll find that all that hate and tension begins to disappear. And even the crime rate will begin to fall. Because a lot of the young people who go into crime are desperados. So I am excited by this speech, and I honestly wish that he will put the team together to make it work.
Talking
and
about
the other issue he raised is the interest rate. Yes.
Please go ahead. You were talking about the interest rate. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Now, where in the world can an economy grow if banks are lending at 28%? Are you producing cocaine? Otherwise, there's no. Otherwise, why ask people to borrow at 28% and make any sense of it or pay back? They can't. So the measures he has taken are, again, very, very supportive of the desire to grow the economy.
Let me take you up quickly on the area of agriculture. The president listed in fact, he focused a lot on the area of agriculture. This is perhaps in line with the movement to declare a state of emergency on food security. You have headed that ministry before. You know the problems, you know the challenges facing the security on food in Nigeria. He has reeled out all of these plans. Are those workable? Are those realistic strategies coming from President Tinubu?
They can be achieved. There's no reason why they cannot be. First, we have the land with almost a million square kilometers of land. We're utilizing only 3.5% to produce food. So is there any reason why we're but we're wondering why we're hungry. Number two, agriculture is a very special area. In every country in the world, especially in the United States and Europe, the subsidies they give to agriculture are huge. People must feed well to be able to think well, to be able to be proud of their country, to be able to promote peace and understanding. And again, I talk of our children and grandchildren. They are passing through a lot of stress. If this program begins and the president puts together a very powerful team, there's no reason why it should not work. However, local governments have to be re-examined because they are not functioning. And let nobody deceive himself. The local government system in Nigeria is a near disaster. Money doesn't get to them. There are no graders to level their village roads to their farms. Nobody is repairing the children's school fees. 300-400 children sit on the floor in the classroom, right? The roofs are leaking, and yet money goes to local governments every month. The president must monitor these funds or penalize local governments that refuse to apply them, or governors who do not allow the local government system to function. We can make it, and this speech encourages me to believe that if we organize a team to manage this system properly, we're on our way out of misery, and we're on our way to true leadership in Africa and true security and happiness. All these boys kidnapping and killing are victims of the failure of our system. And I have always said I am a big opponent of the devaluation of the Naira, which was done through an auction in 1986. They told us that our currency was overvalued. And I kept asking them, what were you buying from us that was too expensive? The only thing you were buying was the oil, whose quantity and currency was fixed, and whose price was regulated, not here, but by big buyers abroad. Why did we need to destroy our currency from $1.50 to 850 Naira now? It's the worst thing we did to ourselves. And then we're importing needles and pins, rubber bands, ice cream powder. We are the biggest producer of cassava in the world, and yet we're the biggest importer of cassava products. We're reviving our textiles. There's no starch industry. One tuber of yam is 2,000 Naira. A family of 3, can't feed. So this is fantastic. I want to encourage the president to push it, and also to make sure that whoever stands in his way gets severely punished. Severely punished for whoever tries to divert and mess up this program, because without it, our democracy will have no meaning. And the chaos we're going through will continue.
Quickly.
Today, our army is deployed in nearly 35 states.
Quickly, Chief Ogbe, because I'd like you to touch on the issue of the ministerial nominee, and I'd like Professor Adigbe also to touch on that. You have talked about getting the right team together. But, you remember you were heavily criticized about your statement on importation, that you mentioned the fact that, in fact, some people import pizza on BA in the morning into Nigeria, and how far you went in trying to fix things. And those who criticize that, what did you do when you were Minister of Agriculture in your own time, but getting the kind of the caliber of people that will fix things? How are you impressed with the ministerial screening today? Does it meet your yearnings as someone who has spent a long time in government? Been around.
Let me answer the question you first asked. So when I said we were importing pizza, we are importing pizza. A governor friend of mine who criticized me for saying so went to a supermarket in Lagos and actually saw frozen pizza in freezers being sold. Number two, they said, I was a critic. Well, under me in 2018, Nigeria became the largest producer of rice in Africa. We overtook Egypt. So, of course, critics are many in Nigeria. It's their profession, criticism. But most of them have no knowledge of what they talk about, but they have access to the TV and the media from time to time, and they make some of the most unreasonable statements. I knew what I was talking about. We were importing rice $5 million a day on the average. Now we have stopped. Of course, people say, why is local rice more expensive? The cost of transportation. Put a bag of rice in a trailer from Katsina or from Jigawa to Lagos. They'll charge you 5,000 Naira for transport. If we had a railway system, this wouldn't happen. So transportation is an issue. A railway network is a necessity. But at least we stopped importing rice. Someday we should stop importing wheat, which we can produce, and even palm oil, for which we were, for nearly 100 years, the largest producer in the world. All of that disappeared under the instability we went through, coups and counter-coups, elections and so on, because the culture of agriculture was our most reliable and strongest culture in earlier days. Now, you asked me about the screening of ministerial nominees. We had some today. Some of them performed quite well. Some said things which sounded very strange, like somebody entering primary school at the age of 3. That sounded very strange. Even Albert Einstein didn't do that well. But we'll leave the Senate to decide how it works. At the age of 3, you were in primary school. Where on God's green earth did that happen? Right? So we can make it happen. We can grow this economy. Take Ekiti State, it's the largest producer of bananas in this country. We can export bananas. The banana industry in the world is $13.2 billion, controlled by Germans. Right? We are the largest producers of yams in the world, the largest producer of cassava, but we are not maximizing. Ghana is the biggest exporter of yams, but we are the largest producers. And we also have a lot of nihilists in this country too. Whatever you start, there must be a nihilist in one corner who says, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. We do. I grew up as a child on the farm. And even though I was a teacher of the French language in ABU Zaria, I am still a farmer. Today I do palm oil, right? I've done castor oil, right? We are expanding our fish farms in Abuja here. We have exported ginger to China. We're going to do more this coming season.
All right.
So I am not
Chief Ogbe,
and miss.
Let me take you up.
I am a farmer.
Yeah, let me take you up quickly.
I didn't study it.
Yeah. Let me take you up quickly. You and some of your colleagues in the Benue Elders Forum are already talking about the discrepancy in the appropriation of appointment under the Bola Tinubu, and you made a statement. What exactly are you talking about? Because I want us to wrap this up and come to Prof.
Well, it's probably about Benue, if it is the one you're talking about.
Yes.
We have a structure in Benue where there are 2 major ethnic groups, the Tiv, who are the majority, and the Idoma. And then, of course, there are smaller groups, the Tulo, the Hausa, the Jukun, and so on. And we have been feeling a bit uncomfortable that for 46 years, since Benue was created, no Idoma man has ever been governor. Never. And we are saying to our Tiv brothers, hey, let's rotate this business so that people can come from different parts of the state and get the vote. We are told we don't have the numbers. And then I asked the question, is there any ethnic group in Nigeria that has all the numbers that can put a president in place without the vote from other ethnic groups? So why should it be about ethnicity? If the party has the numbers, that's better than the ethnic group insisting that because they have the numbers, nobody else is allowed to be a governor. And it goes on. I mean, the governor, the secretary to government, the chief judge, and so on. And we are saying, look, let's discuss this matter and let this thing move around a bit so we can all have a sense of belonging. We're not at war, but we're at liberty to say that certain things make us uncomfortable, and we hope they be looked into. That's my view.
Chief Ogbe, thank you so much indeed. It's good, refreshing to hear from you after a while. I think that I need to find a way of bringing you back. We need to talk about agriculture yet more because this nation needs some revolution in that sector. If you promise me, we need to do this and do a 1-hour sit down with you. Is that okay with you?
It's okay with me, but once again, let me congratulate the president for this move he has made.
All right. Thanks so much. Chief, I'll try to find you again so that you can come on the program. Thank you so much. Chief Ogbe, former Minister of Agriculture and former PDP National Chairman. Thank you so much indeed. Let me come back to you, Prof. Prof, ministerial nominees. Were you impressed today?
Well, Chief Ogbe has already mentioned the one I saw, somebody who said, he started primary school at 3. But what I saw as a major problem was lack of parameters of what are you actually looking for. Are you, for example, looking for character, or are you for qualification? So because the parameters of what really the National Assembly is, the parameter of what they should be looking for, was not properly, articulated. So it becomes difficult to know what you're looking for, qualification or character, and then there is this esprit de corps. If you have been in the National Assembly,
bow and go
you just bow.
Does it make a mess of the process? No, because if you look at the general definition of what screening is, supposed to scrutinize. You're supposed to test somebody for a job.
Remember, for example, that they've gone through this security clearance. So they're supposed to have been,
but I assume security screening is a different thing. And there are issues.
But do you know precisely
the capacity for the job?
Okay, how do you assess capacity, for example, when it is not attached to a portfolio?
So there's a mistake from the presidency.
No,
for not attaching portfolios.
I wouldn't say it's a mistake because it cuts two ways. If you attach portfolio, the good thing about it is at least we'll be assessing you on the basis of the portfolio. But then, what if the president decides to reassign you, to do a cabinet reshuffle? Does it mean he has to go back again? So it means that if you attach his portfolio, that leeway he will have to be able to move you from one ministry to another at his discretion.
But some of the senators over the years have argued that presidents should attach portfolios to some of these so that they will know, because it looks like a focusless screening process.
That's what I'm saying, that you don't really know what you're looking for. You're not looking for academic qualification. The person who said he started at the age of 3 is a professor, which means he must have, for you to become a professor, there are certain processes. Your qualification must have been scrutinized in addition to publication. So you take it for granted.
I'm seeing a lot of comments here. Some people say it's a sheer waste of the nation's time and energy. Watching it was gruesome to watch because it was, grueling to watch because you imagine that you want to get some intellectual engagement, but do the senators even look prepared?
Yeah, but there was a question, the guy about water resources, they really were asking questions that, trying to tease out some, critical knowledge. But apart from that, you don't really know, which portfolio people are. How do you assess somebody like Nyesom we speak? Some of them, people take ideological positions. Okay, I come around, I'm a lawyer, I've been a governor. You say, okay, on the basis of having been a governor, you're qualified. So it is difficult unless we start by defining exactly what the National Assembly should be assessing for. Are we assessing for character, scandal, or what? As distinct from what the security agencies. But let me quickly make a remark about the statement by the president. I respect the fact that he made it, but there is also something that suggests this thinking on the feet, which was criticized in respect to the removal of the subsidies. I think it was today that he came across that he was going to make a statement by 7 p.m. Mm-hmm. You heard about it today?
Today, yes.
So doesn't it make it seem like something very impromptu, something that was just came on the spur of the moment? So it would have been better, in my own opinion, for example, let's just say, okay, the president will be addressing the nation every fortnight, starting from so and so date.
To give an update?
He will be giving an update. Yeah. In that sense, it gives a sense of being something
responsible to the people,
properly thought through.
And
for example, look at,
and now, accountable.
He said he's going to set up, I support the idea that he's going to give 1 billion to 75 businesses geared towards manufacturing. And then he's going to give 9% interest and repayable within 12 to 16 months. What kind of business can you set up and you're able
to pay back?
You make enough profit and be able to repay 1 billion? It's impossible. So that also gives the impression of something that's not been robustly thought through. Because in most businesses like this, if you really want to support business,
you give them a leeway.
What they do is that if you borrow money, there is a period where you are not paying anything. So
a moratorium.
A moratorium. You have like a 1-year moratorium to develop this business, and then you start to pay. And even that 16 for a new business, any business that can pay 1 billion within 1 year It's not a business you will support.
It's not a small business.
It's not a business you need to support.
It's a business that is already running, not crawling. And
so there is a lot of things that you need to think through.
A lot of people who are sending messages are talking about the president being active, action from this government. They want to see proactivity and all of that. But we'll see how this pans out. But it's been a day anyway, an interesting one. Thank you so much, Professor Gideon,
thank you very much
for joining us. And Chief Audu Ogbewu also shared his thoughts about some of these issues. Well, this is how we anchor tonight on the program. Many thanks, everyone, for watching. I'm sure, Kimale, I'll see you tomorrow again. God bless Nigeria.